Hi everyone, and a big thank you to all of the community members over at Open Media One channel on Telegram. Anyone want to follow or join that channel? It's at Open Media One on Telegram. It'd be great to have you all over there. So today's video, I've got notes today, guys, so we'll be looking down for this because there's a couple of things I want to say, just so make sure that they're in this. But today's video is being honest with yourself and not lying to yourself. So the title of the video is Be Honest With Yourself, Don't Lie to You. So I'm going to go through a few things here, and at the end I'm going to repeat that again, and you can literally wind the video back and go through them all and see what you think, okay? So right at the start of this, we had, we're going to start with China, and on the news and the media and all over social media, we had images of people collapsing on the street, homes being boarded up, people being dragged out of cars, and so on and so forth. Real big seed planted there from the media and the government of what is happening over in another country. So it kind of helps with anything that they're looking to do in this country of a lesser extent, because it makes you think, oh, at least it's not that bad there. Okay, so bear with me through this, guys. Stay with me, okay? Also, we had 50 to 100 million could die. On the news, it was just millions are going to die, millions are going to die, millions are going to die, as you all know. Now, we also had daily briefings. Cuomo over in New York, he was all over this, trying to make himself a bit of a celebrity star, I think. But yeah, he was on every day, talking loads of buzzwords, you know, controlling the curve and flattening the curve and all of that stuff. So that was going on at the same time at the beginning of all of this. We also had images of New York, other places as well, other hospitals around the world, ambulances, body bags. We had nurses after 12-hour shifts and doctors doing their own social media videos and putting them out, saying that, you know, if anyone doesn't believe this, they should, you know, take a look at the shift they've just done, and, you know, so on and so forth. Again, throughout the news, millions are going to die, 50 to 100 million could die. We need to protect lives. Those situations didn't happen all over. They didn't happen in every hospital, which I'm going to cover in a moment. They were happening in isolated areas, and they didn't continue for longer than a month, 2 months, 3 months. They did not happen in last week, the week before that, last month, month before that. They haven't happened for months, and it didn't happen everywhere, as we all know, because otherwise every single hospital in the whole wide world would have been overrun with people. Remember, they did state 50 to 100 million would die as well, and in some other countries they were saying higher numbers. Now, we also had in the UK, the army build a temporary hospital called the Nightingale. I'm not sure what's going to happen with that now. Maybe it will turn into another O2 arena or a football stadium or something like that. Also in America, they had a medical army boat sent to New York. Again, not used for anything, wasn't needed. And another boat sent to another place. I think that was Los Angeles or somewhere like that. Again, not needed. Now, we're going to move on to the next stage of this, okay? Quickly before we do, we know they all said masks, no masks, masks, no masks, masks, no masks. And at the exact same time, they were creating a huge demand by saying there's no masks available, and China creates the masks and these creates the masks. So it's a very clever move to create urgency or demand for those masks, which obviously most people are now wearing. So we move on to the next part of this, guys. And as we all know, it is a fact that on the death certificates, it was put possible or suggested COVID or suspected COVID, even if you didn't even have COVID. You just had to have the symptoms. One of those symptoms were having a temperature. As many people have already discussed, on the time of passing, most people are going to have a temperature. So a lot of people were written down as if they had COVID on the death certificate, even though they did not die from COVID. Now, we started to get other videos appearing from hospitals online at around this time. These were actually of empty wards. People were going in and filming the empty wards. People also found out that the hospitals reduced their capacity, which means that if somebody had 100 beds, for example, and reduced that to 20, and they had 19 patients in, they would be nearly full. on record. Spacing out things, social distancing, all that kind of stuff was going on. But that's what they basically did. They reduced the capacities of hospitals so they'd look more full. Also, we had other videos coming out from hospitals, nurses dancing in corridors with big balloons and balls up them, and yoga balls and medicine balls, and all across the world, not just in one country. Nurses everywhere finding the time to dance and keep themselves happy. In the UK, at the same time, they were wiping the NHS debt, which is quite convenient, actually, especially since it was that Matt Hancock guy who's now been caught for not thinking the virus was deadly at all, which we'll cover again in a moment very briefly. So the NHS debt was wiped in the UK. People were clapping out on the streets for the nurses. They were dancing in the corridors, most of them. Don't forget, I'm not disputing the fact that something did happen in these areas, isolated hospitals, not across everywhere. Something did happen because it was filmed. What happened, I don't know. I do know nurses who were in that situation. I also know nurses who were tested for COVID, caught COVID, and yet nobody in their house caught it, which is quite strange. So we'll get on to the next part now. The leaders being caught not following their own rules. I put a thing on Telegram and I had a lot of people send me messages from leaders in their own country, all flouting the rules. Nobody scared of any deadly virus. We had people in America, Gavin Newsom, in a restaurant with a party of people, closed windows, many other cases. We had people in the UK who were also doing that and going across the country to see their own relatives while people weren't allowed to see theirs. Okay? Clearly, no deadly virus to them because they would have at least have been protecting themselves by putting them some sort of protective mask, clothing, shield. You know, you're talking about politicians here, people, not warriors. Now, getting back to this, they also started to say, get the shot, we're going to get back to normal. They started to promote the shot at around this time as well. I even had friends message me saying, the quicker we get the shot, the quicker we all get back to normal. Now we're here. Now you need more shots. You need boosters. And it's still not normal. Another thing, they count cases, not people. Strange. So if somebody gets it 2 or 3 times, they're down 2 or 3 times, which is quite misleading because what happens then is the numbers appear higher that way, instilling fear into you. Some of the countries, UK, USA, and other countries don't even report recoveries. If you looked at the numbers, you'd be thinking, nobody's recovered. But they have, obviously. And if they've caught it again, they've come back into the numbers. Surely in a crisis, you'd want people to be calm, not to scare them. Think of war, World War II, the things that we've seen from that period where prime ministers were rallying around, trying to get the people, leaders were rallying around, trying to pick the people's morale up. You wouldn't want to scare them, which is exactly what's been happening here, it seems. Now we're up to here. More leaders have been caught not being scared of any virus at all, having affairs out of their bubble. We've got new strains, new reasons to feel scared and to fear. Still, no recoveries listed. Still, we have another epiphany of all this. The exempt, the homeless, and those that just say no to the globalists, they're still living maskless, shotless, not struck down by any deadly virus. This is very strange. Another little weird one here, well, it's not weird, it's strange. Weird can be a good thing sometimes. This is not. Vaccinated people are catching the virus in quite high numbers. We've seen the percentages in the newspapers and things like that. Don't tend to spend too much time in the newspapers. I read a headline and then go and have a quick scan to see what lies they're telling. But they are actually saying that quite a high portion of people who have been vaccinated have now caught COVID again. All the disclaimers are there for them. You know, a vaccine isn't a guarantee and all this kind of thing. Why we were taking it in the first place then? Oh, because they said 50 to 100 million people would die. How many people have passed away from this? How many people have passed away from this from actual COVID? We've all seen mad figures being passed around the world. Oh, just to let you know as well, Andrew Marr, one of the BBC reporters, was one of the people who was vaccinated and caught COVID, had a very bad dose of it, and told people about that. And he was quite suspicious of the vaccine as well at that point. Still, thankfully, We're not at the 50 to 100 million that was reported at the beginning of this. Still, you know, the people who have passed, anyone who's passed, it's terrible for anyone who's passed, but we don't actually know how many people have actually passed from COVID because of all the skullduggery to do with the birth certificates and everything else. Now, I've gone through quite a few things there, and you see, if there was just one thing that didn't add up, I could totally understand people overlooking this. But that many things not adding up to something, it's just completely farcical, isn't it? And we're talking about a group of people who have always lied to us all of our lives. They really have. And before people say to me, no, it's not the same ones, it's different ones this time. Well, it's not, is it? You know, in the UK, you've had Tony Blair all over the TV telling people there's no reason not to take a shot, there's no reason not to wear a mask and all this nonsense. He is the leader of the UK that lied and went to war over weapons of mass destruction, knowing they were lies, tortured people. They tortured people to get the confessions and then went to war and killed thousands upon thousands of people. And now he's on TV telling people to take the shot and put a mask on. Come on, people. He actually is the leader who did those lies before. Nothing's changing until you guys change. And I'm going to be really, really straight with you here, people. If you're not being honest with yourself, you're lying to yourself. And you shouldn't be lying to yourself. It's some of the best advice I ever had off somebody, and it's really, really true. Don't lie to yourself. Don't kid yourself on. Be honest with yourself. Is any of this that they've told you true? Is any of the things that they've said happened? It hasn't. We've been lied to all the way through this. And one of the big things for me, and it should be for you, is these people who are giving us this advice, who are being caught and fired for not following their own advice, do not think there is a deadly virus. By their actions, they are showing you this. These globalist leaders, media, they're the weakest of society, people. They would already be hidden under the ground, running away in protective gear. There's not one thing here that doesn't add up. It's everything. Everything. So please be honest with yourself. Don't lie to you. And I thank you very much for watching this video. I know it's a bit longer than usual. And I hope you all enjoy it and share it. And thank you very much for watching this. Please be honest with you. And it's okay to say, I've made a mistake. I shouldn't have listened to them. I shouldn't have followed them. It's okay. We've all done it. At some point, we've all listened to the government at some point. Okay? And the leaders and the media and the globalists. But they ain't there for us, people. They're just not. And they've got a 100% track record of lying. This deadly virus, lies, is included in that. And you can tell by all of the things that don't add up, all of the lies, the fake hospital thing that was built, the boats that didn't get used, 50 to 100 million were going to die, thankfully they didn't. And on top of all of that, it's their actions. They've been caught time and time again, not being scared of the deadly virus. The weakest people of our society would be running, hiding. They'd be scared and in full protective suits. You know it and I know it. Thank you very much for watching the video. Please be honest with yourself and don't lie to you. Thank you.